Chuck Barkley was mid-sentence when he stopped, looked at the camera, and started laughing because the numbers on the screen had just ended the argument before it even started. Welcome to Hoops Pill. If you're new here, subscribe, drop a like, and stay locked in. 30 points per game, double-digit rebounds, 3 blocks a night through 4 Western Conference Finals games. And when those averages popped up on the TNT desk, Chuck immediately turned to Shaq and asked, "What are you looking for?" Not because it was scripted, because Shaq had spent the better part of this series pushing Victor Wembanyama to be more aggressive, more dominant, more superstar. And now the stats were sitting right there, proving that everything Shaq asked for had already happened. Shaq wasn't wrong to push him, though. That's the thing people keep glossing over. After games 2 and 3, Wemby had stretches where he floated. Not bad basketball, just not the relentless, suffocating dominance you expect from the most gifted player alive. Shaq saw it. He called it out on national television. He said a true dominant big man attacks every single possession and forces the defense to panic. And when Wemby does that, the entire offense opens up for everyone around him. That's old-school basketball wisdom. The problem for Shaq was that Wemby actually listened. Game 4 started, and it was clear within 90 seconds that something was different. Wemby came out hunting shots immediately. 3 attempts in the first minute and a half. No hesitation, no reading the moment, no waiting for plays to develop. He was in attack mode from the opening tip, and OKC had absolutely no answer ready for it. By the end of the first quarter, he already had 11 points, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and was at a plus 15. San Antonio's entire energy changed. The crowd was different. The bench was different. Even the way Wemby was walking between possessions looked locked in at a different level. What made Game 4 specifically stand out wasn't just the offense, though. It was the tactical shift on defense that Chuck and Kenny kept coming back to throughout the broadcast. Earlier in the series, San Antonio was doubling Shai Gilgeous-Alexander near half court and basically handing OKC's shooters wide-open catch-and-shoot looks. It was a mistake that kept costing them, but in Game 4, the Spurs simplified everything. They trusted their perimeter defenders, stopped over-helping, and let Wemby function as a true paint anchor, just waiting behind the defense like a wall that nobody wanted to run into. And once that adjustment clicked, OKC's entire offensive rhythm fell apart. Kenny Smith explained something during the broadcast that deserves more attention than it got. He said Victor's defensive impact isn't primarily about blocked shots, it's the fear factor. It's guards pulling up 2 steps before they normally would. It's wings pump-faking and hesitating because they can feel him in their peripheral vision. It's MVP-caliber scorers suddenly second-guessing their own instincts in situations where they normally operate on autopilot. SGA, one of the best mid-range scorers on the planet, saw his field goal percentage crater in this series. His three-point efficiency dropped. His mid-range numbers, normally elite, collapsed against San Antonio. That's not a coincidence. That's Wemby rewriting how a defense can work. By halftime of Game 4, Victor had 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and was a plus 16. The building was already tilted towards San Antonio in a way that felt permanent. And then, right before the buzzer sounded to end the half, Wemby launched a shot from 40 feet out. Not a desperation heave, not a wild flail, and it went in. The arena lost its mind. The Spurs bench erupted, and on the TNT set, Shaq immediately tried to call it lucky while Kenny pushed back in real time, insisting it was skill. That one exchange captured the entire dynamic of the series perfectly. Shaq still holding the line, everyone else already watching something that felt increasingly beyond ordinary explanation. Here's what makes this run genuinely hard to process in real time. Wemby is 22 years old. This is his first real postseason, and every single round, instead of hitting a wall or showing his age in a crucial moment, he somehow found a higher gear. In his playoff debut against Portland, he dropped 35 points on over 60% shooting, one of only 4 players in history to do that in a playoff debut, joining Chris Paul, Derrick Rose, and one other name in that company. Then in the second round against Minnesota, he put up 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks on the road, the youngest player ever to accomplish that combination in postseason history, passing Hakeem and Wilt Chamberlain. Then came the Western Conference Finals opener,
41 points and 24 rebounds in his conference finals debut. That kind of performance doesn't just put you in the record books, it puts you in a conversation that very few players ever enter at any age, let alone at 22 in year 2. And what makes the trajectory almost unsettling in real time is that he isn't just sustaining his level from round to round, he's raising it. Each opponent has been better than the last, and each performance has been more complete than the one before it. That's not typical development. That's not what most young players do when the competition spikes in the playoffs. His series averages through 4 games read like something out of an NBA 2K career mode that someone edited to test the limits of the game. 30 points per game, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 53% from the field, 43% from 3, and 88% from the free throw line as a 7'5" center. And the surrounding cast context makes it even harder to comprehend. Not a single Spurs teammate is averaging over 18 points in this series. Nobody else in the main rotation is even shooting above 50%. What San Antonio is doing in this series is essentially riding one player against one of the best constructed rosters in basketball, and somehow it's working. The basketball world spent the better part of 2 years asking whether Wemby could translate his skills to the playoff stage, whether the size and the tools and the vision would hold up when the schemes got tighter and the physicality increased and the margin for error essentially disappeared. The answer at this point in the series is that he isn't just surviving the playoff environment, he's actively thriving in ways that are actively reshaping what analysts and fans expected his ceiling to look like. People came into this postseason viewing him as a top-tier talent with franchise player upside. After this run, serious voices, former players, analysts with long resumes are starting to say he might already be the best overall player in the world right now. What's interesting about that conversation is it isn't based purely on scoring. It's based on control, on how differently games look when he's in them versus when he isn't, on how teams game plan specifically avoiding him in certain areas of the floor. Guards who attack the basket without hesitation against everyone else suddenly stop one step short against San Antonio. Shooters who catch and fire immediately start hesitating and rushing. The gravity he creates on both ends simultaneously is something you only see from a specific tier of player, and most of the names in that tier are retired legends. He's doing it right now, in real time, while still figuring things out as he goes. Going back to Chuck and Shaq for a second, because that dynamic is genuinely one of the most entertaining subplots of this playoff run. Shaq spent years as the most dominant big man the league had ever seen, a player who legitimately believed that if a center wasn't imposing his will every single possession, he was leaving something on the table. That's the standard Shaq holds everyone to, and it's not an unfair one. When he pushed Wemby to be more aggressive after those middle games, it came from a real place, and then Wemby responded by essentially playing the version of himself that Shaq was describing, and Chuck got to be there on live television to watch Shaq run out of criticisms in real time. That's a genuinely funny storyline. With the series tied 2-2 heading into Game 5, the Spurs now hold something they didn't have entering this matchup: legitimate belief, not just from the fan base or the analysts, but from inside the building. This team has watched their franchise player grow every series, adjust in real time, and now deliver the type of fourth game that closes out skeptics and opens up possibilities that felt distant just a few weeks ago. OKC is still a brilliantly constructed team, with the reigning MVP and a roster built specifically for playoff basketball. This series is far from over, but the conversation is shifted, and the reason it's shifted is standing in the middle of the paint in San Antonio wearing number 1. What's left to say that the numbers haven't said already? He's 22 years old, playing in his first postseason, averaging 30 points and 13 rebounds against one of the best defenses in basketball. And somehow, the most remarkable thing about his performance isn't any individual stat, it's the consistency. It's that every time a question got raised about him this series, he answered it the next game. Every time someone said he needed to do more, he did more. The league has been waiting for a player who could anchor a team across every era, size and skill and instinct and mentality all in one body. Whether or not that's what Victor Wembanyama becomes over a full career, in these 2026 playoffs, he's already making that argument impossible to ignore.